Good morning, children. So, in the last class, we were completed the fourth chapter. Today, we will start with the new chapter. So, that is nothing but the principles of inheritance and variation. Okay. So, let us start with the introduction. See, first of all, while I was discussing in the earlier classes, I was telling about when it comes to the topics of the genetics, we will discuss in the fifth chapter, like that I told you. Okay. Yeah. See, in generally, sometimes if we ask, or somebody will ask us, that means, why are you very short? Why are you, tall? Why are you fair? Or why are you dark? So, these are all questions you may not able to answer in generally. But in our science, there is a branch of science, that is nothing but genetics, which answers all these questions. Okay, so these are all we will study under the specialized branch called genetics. So in this chapter we will get the answer for all those questions. Okay, so let us start with the discussion, the chapter principles of inheritance and variation. You know who is he? He is called Gregor John Mendel. Okay, one who is called the father of genetics. Okay, so before we are going to start with the principles of inheritance and variation chapter, let us start the discussion with respect to some of the basic terms. They are very important for the purpose of understanding this chapter, as there is a genetics. Okay, yeah. So in this one, the first one, as I said, genetics. Okay, we'll get all the answers for genetic related aspects. In this branch, there is nothing but genetics. Then the question arises, what is the genetics, or how can you define genetics? Isn't it? Genetics is the branch of science, or we can also say the study of inheritance, heredity, and variation of characters. Or in generally, we can also say the genetics is a branch of science which deals with the study of genes and chromosomes. Okay, so in this, the definition, again, there are three terminologies which is present: the inheritance, heredity, and variation. Okay, so then the question arises, what is the meaning of heredity, inheritance, and variation? Okay, so let us discuss about all these three, the terminologies also. When it comes to the heredity, you must have heard about, we are talking commonly, if somebody will be behaving some differently, or sometimes while we are discussing about the characters, we will tell, see, it is came from his heredity. Okay, you must have heard about like this discussion. Then what is meaning of heredity? Heredity is nothing but the inheritance of characters from generation to generations is called heredity. Okay, the inheritance, the phenomena of inheritance of characters from generation to generation is called heredity. Then you can ask me, sir, what is a heredity? That means inheritance. Inheritance means the transmission. Okay, the transmission of characters from parents to progeny, or parents to next generation is called inheritance. It is based off, that means purely the inheritance is based on heredity. That's what I said. Generally, sometimes they may ask me, why are you short? See, the answer is clear. My parents are dwarf. That's why I am also dwarf. That's it. If somebody asks, why are you fair or why are you dark? Yes, the answer is their parents may be fair, okay, or if their parents are dark or the black, then their children also they may be black. Okay, so like this, the transmission of characters from parents to progeny. Okay, it is purely based on heredity. Then the variations. Again, see here there is a questions. Sometimes generally, if you would have compared about yourself with respect to parents, you are somewhat similar to your father, or somewhat you are similar to mother, or somewhat you are similar to your grandparents. Okay, then so in these cases there is no problem, there is no doubt. Okay, but there are some cases their children or the offspring they look different when compared to their parents. Okay, so they may be not generally or similar. How their parents may be dwarfed, unfortunately the children will be very tall. Okay, and sometimes their parents may be very tall, their children will become medium height or short, and sometimes their parents may be dark, unfortunately children will become very fair. Okay, or vice versa, their parents may be very fair, the children unfortunately they become dark. So then the question arises, is they not their children? Did not say. Okay, but the thing is, how it maybe happens, it is because of variations. Okay, so the change in the hereditary characters is called variations, or we can also say the degree of differences, between parents and offspring only. Okay, so then that's why the reason behind the lot of changes when compared to their parents to their progeny. Okay, so and remember these variations are the raw materials which is required for evolution. If there will be variation, surely there is a degree of differences. If there will be no variation, there is no raw material for evolution also. And remember, variation is the reason behind the evolution. Okay, and this is very important, and the variation can be seen in only in case of sexual reproduction. Okay, well, I am discussing the first chapter. I told you while we are discussing about the types of reproduction, variation is necessary, okay, for the evolution. So that can be seen only in case of sexual reproduction, but in case of asexual reproduction we cannot see variations, isn't it? Because they are exactly copies of the parents. Okay, then the next question or the terminology, character. Okay, so the character, don't think that behavioral character, here it is related to the genetical characters. Okay, a heritable feature among the parents and offspring is known as character. That's what I was telling about. Example, eye color. Okay, eye color, it is a character. The pattern of the hair, it is also a character. Okay, and we can also say the pattern of skin. So these are all characters. Okay, height is also a character. Okay, so these are all some of the characters. Okay, then what is character? That means a heritable feature among the parents and offspring is called character. Now the trait. Okay, so I will tell you, while we are crossing between two, generally traits are two generations, we use the terminology when we are crossing between two parents, we call a triads. We consider the triads. What is the meaning of triad? The variants of characters. Then it will be considered triad. Example, brown eye, blue eye. In case of the human soul, you must have observed the triads of the different characters of eye color, the brown, Okay, then emerald, blue, gray. So these are all the different types or variants of characters. Okay, so next one, here there is a question, what is the meaning of the allele? Okay, alleles, they are commonly known as allelomorphs also. What is this? The alternative forms of genes. Okay, see here the right side in the slide we have given, it may be present in particular region of the chromosomes, the alternative form of the genes. Example, that's what I was telling, the tall and dwarf are two alleles of the, that means of a gene for the character height. Okay, then homozygous. Homo means similar, the condition in which chromosome pair carries a similar alleles of a gene. Okay, so that means the condition the chromosome pair carries a similar alleles of a gene. They are similar. Okay, then they are nothing but homozygous. And also they are also known as, when they are similar, exactly similar, then they will be considered pure lines. Okay, or true breeding. So that's what I was telling. They are similar. Capital T, both are tall only, homozygous tall. Okay, then small t, homozygous dwarf. Okay, then capital Y, homozygous yellow. Okay, so like this, and there is another recessive condition. Okay, small y, generally it is related to the opposite color of the yellow. So that is a green. Generally we use the fine. Yeah, that is a nothing but recessive character. Then heterozygous, the condition in which chromosome pair carries dissimilar alleles of a genes. Okay, see here when it comes to the heterozygous means both they are present but they are different. The condition in which chromosome pair carries dissimilar. There are two different alleles. So here the again small t, capital T, or we can also say capital T, small t. Okay, yeah, the alternative form of the genes, they are known as alleles. Or we can also say a pair of genes occupying the same locus on homologous chromosomes and controlling a single or a contrasting character is known as alleles. Okay, then you may ask me, sir, what is a locus? It is a position where the alleles, or you can also say it is a position occupied by a gene on chromosome. Fine, that is a hetero, means different. Did you got it? Observe neatly. And here the when it comes to the characters, that's what I was telling. Their females may be taller. Children unfortunately they become dwarf, or the children may be dwarf. How the next generation may be again they may become tall. How these are all the characters. So as I was telling above, there are two contrasting characters which is present, even though only one character sometimes expresses, then that condition will be considered as dominant. The character which is expressed in heterozygous condition, it indicates with capital letter. Okay, but here while we are expressing in case of the generics, use the terminology, okay, the dominant. But here some of the characters which is given in case of the humans. Okay, then the recessive, the character which is suppressed In heterozygous condition, it indicates with the small letter. Okay. For example, remember, if we consider as a tall as a dominant, uses the terminology capital T. If he uses the recessive, the dwarf as a recessive, then we uses the terminology small t. Okay. And the phenotype, physical expression, or we can also say physiological expression of a character. Okay. So that is called phenotype. Okay. Whatever we look, that is the external morphological appearance of a character is called phenotype. Okay. Then genotype, the genetic makeup or genetic constituent of phenotypic character is called genotype. In generally, we can say the genetic constitution of a character. For example, just now I was telling about homozygous. The capital T is the genetic constitution. Phenotype, the tall. Okay. Genetic constitution, capital T or capital T small t, heterozygous. Then it will be genotype. Okay. Then hybrid. Must have used this terminology or heard about this terminology generally in case of the plant seeds, hybrid seeds, isn't it? The number of terminologies we uses, but the meaning, what is the meaning exactly? It is a progeny, or we can also say the progeny is or offspring obtained by crossing between two different parents. Okay, or we can also say an individual produced by mating of genetically unlike or different parents. See in this slide, the right side, some of the characters. Okay, by considering humans, I have given. I think you must have observed, or else you just observe or compare yourself. See in case of the humans, the cleft chin. The cleft chin, so it is considered as a dominant character. Okay. And what about the recessive? No cleft, or cleft is absent. Okay. Then the generally widow's peak is considered as a dominant character. Now widow's peak is considered as a recessive character. Dimples is also a dominant character. A recessive is no dimples or absence of dimples. Then brown or black hairs is a dominant, whereas the recessive character is a blunt hairs. Then freckles, again it is dominant in case of the humans. Absence of freckles or no freckles is a recessive. Okay. Then the brown eyes is a dominant, whereas recessive character is a, that is gray or blue eyes. Okay. And free earlobes, again it's a dominant character in case of humans. No, that is attachment of the earlobes. So that means here it's a free earlobe is a dominant. In case of recessive attached earlobes, we can identify. Okay. So in this chapter actually we will discuss about the pre-blind for the purpose of better understanding. So some of the examples which is given in humans. Okay, fine. Yeah. See, when it comes to the in this chapter, the Mendel's law of inheritance we will discuss. Okay, Gregor John Mendel is considered as the father of genetics. Before we are going to the this chapter, we have to know about few interesting topics about the Mendel and his work. Okay, because this chapter purely it is comes under the genetics. Okay, without the Gregor John Mendel, there is no genetics. Okay, yeah. So whatever the Mendel given the laws, okay, Mendel given the laws, those laws will be considered as the, that is, Mendelian laws of inheritance. Okay, actually, that's what I was telling. Mendel conducted, that is, some of the hybrid experiments on pea plant. It is commonly known as botanical name Pisum sativum. It is commonly called Gordon peas. So the between, that means it's about 7 years between the 1856. In some books it is mentioned 57 also, no problem or no issues. So it's about 7 years. That means between 1856 to 1863. In some textbook it is mentioned he conducted the hybridization experiments for a period of 8 years also, no problem, between 1857 to between 1865. Okay, so let me to tell you briefly about the Gregor John Mendel. Actually, the Gregor John Mendel was born in 1822. Okay, so in a small town called Moravia, it is actually presented in, that is, Czechoslovakia. Okay, then he joined the Church of Brunn in 1843 with the hope to get an opportunity for learning, but he was made a priest in 1847. Why I am telling about the Mendel? See, as I said, without the Mendel, there is no law. The specialized branch, that is called genetics only. That's why it is very important to know about the Mendel. Okay, fine. And in 1857, the Mendel was deputed to the University of Vienna for studying science. So it is called actually natural science or natural history earlier. Along with, he also studied mathematics for teacher certification. Okay, and it's surprising to learn that, surprising to come to know that the Mendel never passed the examination, but still he taught physics and natural history at the Technical High School at Brunn from 1854. Okay, after returning from the university, and when he was staying in the church only, so he found a huge, the area where he grown the pea plants. Fine, and Mendel selected the Gordon pea plant, that is Pisum sativum, as an experimental plant. So some children maybe earlier they were asking, sir, did he directly choose the pea plant? See, it is not clear that he is only selected pea, but the thing is he must have selected other plants also. But whatever the expected results he got and whatever he noted and given the loss, it is based on the pea plant. Okay, yeah. He conducted the hybridization experiments on pea plant for about 8 years. Okay, then in the evening of 8th February 1865, Mendel presented the results of his experimentations on the pea plant before the Society for the Study of Natural Science in Brunn. Okay, but fortunately his work unnoticed. Okay, unfortunately his work unnoticed by the scientific world, and he died in 1884. Okay, and sir, then if it is not identified, then how it is coming to the light? Yeah, let me to tell you. See, in the beginning of 20th century, in 1900, the Mendel's principles were rediscovered by, there are 3 names of the scientists. See, one scientist who could average, he is from Holland, and then Karl Correns from the Germany, and that is Tesselma from Austria. Okay, why I'm telling you about all these things? These questions sometimes they were asked in the competitive. For that purpose, I'm telling you. Okay, see, there are three names of the scientists actually. They were conducted, the hybridization experiments in the three different countries. But fortunately, unfortunately, they have conducted experiments independently and obtained the results similar to those Mendel's. Okay, and whenever they try to submit the same thing in the Society of the Natural Science in Bloom, they come to know the scientific world recognized the significance of the understanding contribution of the Mendel's principles of inheritance to the understanding of the mechanism of inheritance. Why? Because they come to know that this work is already completed by Mendel. Okay, so that day onwards, the scientific world has honored him as a scientist and recognized him as the father of genetics. Okay, so this is the work and briefly about the Mendel. Okay, and I was telling about why he selected or why did the Mendel chosen the golden pea plant only. Because if the question arises, means there are five major reasons behind why did Mendel chosen the golden pea plant. That one, first one is the pea plants are true breeds. Okay, so then that can breed true breeds also. That means what is a true breed? As I said, homozygous condition, capital D, homozygous tall, small t, homozygous dwarf flat. Then it will be considered as true breeds. Then the flower, that is pea plant flower, is bisexual. That means it contains both male and female reproductive structure in a same flower, isn't it? Then, and it exhibits self-pollination as well as cross-pollination also. That is autogamy and that is a allogamy. The pea plant exhibits distinct contrasting characters. That means it can be easily identifiable. Whatever I said, if they are tall, that means we can identify easily if they are, the seed shape round or wrinkle. It can be easily identified, isn't it? So that's why. And the plants show high rate of growth and short lifespan. Okay, so within 3 months, in the complete lifespan, it can be completed. That's what the lifespan. No, in the beginning only I told you. Okay, the period duration from beginning from birth to the natural death of an organism, so that he got the chance to learn completely about the lifespan of that particular plant. Okay, then growing and handling of these plants is economical. So by growing this plant and handling, he is not only got whatever he expected results, along with that was also economical. Okay, yes. So, and then it comes to the laws of inheritance. How he made what are the steps he used to conduct these hybridization experiments. Okay, yeah. So Mendel, how he conducted hybridization experiments also. This can be asked as arrange the steps in making the crosses crossing T, arrange the rearrange like that also they can ask. Okay, here the flower it is given, the petal, okay, then the stigma and the stamen and carpel. Okay, the last year also I told you this pea plant which comes under the family Fabaceae. Do you remember? Yes. The steps in making the cross in pea plant. First step, the selection of two peak lines with contrasting characters. That's what I say, the contrasting character by considering with two different traits, tall and dwarf, or round wrinkle. Then it will be considering as the selection of two peak lines with contrasting characters. Okay, then the next step is emasculation, the removal of anthers of one plant to avoid self-pollination. So this is a, then it will be considered parent. Okay, the removal of anthers of one plant to avoid the self-pollination. That you remember, the emasculation should be done before the anthesis. Okay, before the mature of the reproductive structure. Then that will be considered female parent. Okay, if you collected the pollen grains, that plant pollen grains will be considered male parent. Did you got it? Yes. Then the pollination, the collection of pollen grains from the male parent and transferring to the female parent. This is called pollination. Okay. Then collection and germination. Okay. So after the complete growth of that particular plant, it will produce the number of seeds, isn't it? That collection and generation of the seeds to produce the offspring. Okay, this process will continue. Okay, this process will continue in the name of F1, F2, F3 generation. So what is this F1, F2, F3? F is nothing but filial. Okay, generation. The filial first generation is F1. Filial second generation will be F2. F3, that means filial third generation. As I said here, what is this F1 generation? It is a hybrid obtained as a first filial generation after crossing between two parents. Then it will be filial generation on. Okay, so let it be. Next class we will continue about the that means the Mendel's propositions, laws and everything. Okay, so thank you. Have a nice day.